Good evening, members, and welcome to all those present, including the member of the public and the press in the gallery. Before we begin, I need to go over the usual housekeeping rules. There are no fire drills planned for this evening, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building by the nearest exit and assemble in the Queen's Gardens at the front of the building. Please do not re-enter the building until you are advised to do so. Please also ensure your mobile phones have been switched off or set to silent. I welcome those joining us in the public gallery and would ask that they follow any guidance and instructions given by anyone seated at the top table. This council meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available on the Borough Council's website. I would like to remind members that standards of behaviour for the meeting set out in the Council's standing orders apply, and as usual we have set protocols around speaking during this meeting. No member should speak until invited to do so. If you wish to speak, please could I ask that you raise and keep your hand high until you have been acknowledged. Please would all members in the room use their microphones whenever they speak, as without them, anyone watching online will not be able to hear you. To use the microphones, please press the button at the front and centre when invited to speak, and wait a moment for the light on your microphone to come on. Please remember to turn off your microphone once you've finished. Members, in the interest of managing the meeting, please do not approach anyone seated at the top table for advice without first gaining agreement. Should you wish to do so, again, please raise your hand high. And please could I ask at the end of the meeting to make sure that you take all your belongings and any litter with you. Thank you. Before we commence with business, I was saddened to learn of the death of former councillor Peter Hailstones. So I propose to hold a minute's silence in tribute, after which I will ask members to pay tribute. Please stand. Please be seated. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you like to lead tributes to Peter Hailstones? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I certainly would. I think I was really sad to hear the passing of Peter Hailstones. Obviously, a well-known Conservative councillor for many years, got elected in 2000 until 2018 for the Seabridge area. And he's also the Mayor's consort for 2014-15 when his wife, Linda, who was also a councillor for a number of years, was Mayor of this borough. And I think for me, Peter is somebody I've known since I've been involved in the local Conservatives, and I remember when I first got elected in 2003, he was out helping leaflet and all sorts of things, as well as doing his own ward. I think he was up for election the same year as well. So really sad to hear that. And I think from my point of view also, this might not be of interest to a lot of people, or they might think it's a bit of a downside and an upside for somebody. But I think him and Linda won an award for attending the most Conservative conferences in a row. which of course for political geeks like us, that's quite a thing, isn't it? So I think, and I noticed the last couple of conferences, I haven't seen them there because of particularly Peter's ill health. So really sad to hear, and I obviously wish Linda and all his family the best, and for after their loss, and pay tribute to Peter, which I'm quite happy to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Dave Jones, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, sure, Mr. Mayor. I think I equally was quite saddened to hear about Peter's passing. We overlapped on this council over a 2-year period, and Peter struck me as somebody who was very quiet, a man of not a lot of words, but when you did engage in conversation, was a very generous person, certainly with his time and with his conversation. And I enjoyed the conversations that we had. And I was pleased to see his time supporting his wife, Linda, as consort. And I think it's a real testament to the man that we've just heard, that he had the fortitude and stamina to win such an award. I'm sure Conservative Party conferences are very similar to ours, and I don't wish anyone back-to-back conferences, let alone to win an award for attending them. But I think that's a real testament to the person to be able to go through that with that fortitude. And my group will be sending out our best wishes to the family through this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Would any other members please like to speak? And if so, please raise your hand. I did see Councillor Fear first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I too was very sorry to hear about Peter passing away. He was, of course, my colleague as a councillor in Seabridge Ward for many years. And I think Councillor Jones is right, actually. Peter wasn't a man of many words, but he was a very hard worker. He cared a lot about his council work, and he put in a shift for the people of Seabridge. I think we should also remember that he was a doyen of the Wye Road Community Centre, and he worked very hard to keep that organisation going over a large number of years. Other things, the Conservative Conference was a great love of Peter's. He was also very active in the Conservative clubs movement, again, spending a long time there, keeping things going. And his interest in the community continued when he left the council. He was forever ringing me up, telling me about events at the Audley Cricket and Football Club that he was urging me to go along to. So I think we have lost, a hard-working servant for the community. I very much mourn his passing and send my deepest condolences to his family.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Grocott, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, not so much through politics, but obviously Peter coming from Chesterton, obviously it's a sad loss here. Many a time and many hours were spent in Eagle and Child. Peter would normally have a chat. He'd normally have a pipe with himself, his paper with him. And obviously Linda would join him later. Obviously, it's very saddening. Condolences to all the family at this point. Like I say, I haven't seen Peter for probably 2 to 3 years, basically because of ill health. So obviously, it's a shame. And anyway, condolences to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grocott. I see no one else wishing to comment. So thank you for those observations and comments. We'll now commence the business for this evening. And the first item is apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Allport. Are there any other further apologies, please? Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got apologies from Simon Jones, Craig Scalding and Lillian Barker. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Oh, sorry, Councillor Grocott, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just apologies at the moment for Johnny Joe Williams and Councillor Lawley. Hopefully they may join us a bit later. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from any members or officers in relation to any items of business contained within this agenda? I don't see anybody wishing to declare an interest. Thank you. Agenda item 3, members, is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of January 2026. You will find those minutes on pages 5 to 18 of your agenda. Can the minutes please be agreed? Thank you. General consensus. The minutes are then agreed. Thank you for that. Agenda item 4 is the Mayor's announcements. Firstly, members, for those of you who knew Peter Hailstones and may wish to attend his funeral, it will be held at Bradwell Crematorium on Wednesday, the 25th of February, commencing at 12:40. So that's Wednesday, the 25th of February, commencing at 12:40. You will have all received an email regarding the Freedom Ceremony for Sir Ian Dodson, KCVO CBE, being held here on Wednesday, the 11th of March at 6:30 p.m. If you are attending, please could you let Jeff Durham know as soon as possible. And if you will be staying for the buffet afterwards, please advise Jeff of any special dietary requirements. Last night, I attended the AGM of the Burgesses when Alicia Hand was elected chairperson of the Burgesses, which is another historic first for our loyal and ancient borough, following on from her election as the first female vice chairperson of Burgesses. A reminder to members that nominations for the Borough Heroes Awards close on the 15th of February. So make sure you have nominated those who go above and beyond in the borough. Full details of the awards are on the council website. There are 2 remaining key mayoral fundraising events. Firstly, the concert at St Giles at 7 p.m. on Saturday, the 14th of March, which will be raising money for the Mayor's Charity Fund and also for the Friends of Staffordshire Young Musicians, which is known as FOSIM. That is a charity which supports talented young musicians from less fortunate backgrounds who would not otherwise be able to learn to play their instruments to a high standard. Secondly, the Mayor's Ball on Saturday, the 21st of March at Keele. There are a few, and I really do mean a few. In fact, we were worrying about the low number of tickets still available. There are still a few tickets available for the ball. And can I thank those members who've already bought tickets? So thank you for that. There will actually be a final fundraising event on Saturday, the 16th of May in Betley Village Hall in the afternoon and evening, which will be an après-mare. Bearing in mind, of course, that the après-ski takes place during the skiing trip and not afterwards. Details will be posted on my mayoral Facebook page and circulated to members once they're available in early April. Members, we now turn to the next substantive item of business on this evening's agenda, which is the Revenue and Capital Budget Strategies 2026-27. A copy of the report and associated papers can be found on pages 19 to 124 of your agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I just join you in welcoming and congratulating Alicia Hand on being the chair of the Burgesses. Her maiden name is Tagg, if you'd like to know. So another Tagg in charge of an organisation. There you go. Congratulations to her. And of course, the Burgesses are really important to our history, and it's great to see the first female chair. I'd like to move the recommendations A to O in the budget report and present a balanced budget with a low council tax increase of 1.99%. That's meaning around 95% of households will pay no more than 10 pence a week extra. And this rise remains below inflation and sustains our record of keeping council tax below 2% for the 5th year, honouring an election pledge we made in 2022. We do this in the face of some real pressures. Over the next 3 years, the government will be cutting this council's funding over £1.1 million. And then there's a last-minute flea in the ointment, so to speak, or fly in the ointment, which Stephen will talk about more in a minute, where councils are facing reductions in future years as well at the last minute after the settlement was announced in Christmas, just before Christmas. And of course, we have the cost of living rises as well, fuel, all sorts of things, such as the things our residents are having to deal with as well. So it's quite right that we make sure we spend every penny properly and we keep council tax low. And of course, we're safeguarding services in this budget while keeping those costs down. And that's possible through planning ahead, managing the risks we've got and taking the right decisions in the interests of our residents. It's a balanced budget, not only for the next 12 months, but will be underpinned by a clear medium-term financial strategy through to 2030-31. And of course, our efficiency board started work in the summer to make sure that we plug that gap of 1.599 million. And we've successfully done that again this year, as it's done in previous years, showing those real efficiencies can be found. And it's something that's been going on for many years in this council, and there's nothing new, and it's not new in most councils that efficiencies can be made to balance budgets. And of course, we've brought in saving measures, which are detailed under Appendix 4 of the report. They include good housekeeping, efficiencies, tax-based growth, and then, of course, no reduction to frontline services at all in those, which is really key. And residents told us in the consultation that we hold every year that what matters most to them, again this year, was town centre regeneration, street cleaning, refuse collections, and also recycling, parks and open spaces, and also wanting to keep council tax low. So this budget, again, reflects those residents' priorities. On frontline services, we continue to fund the things that those people have said they want funding, like those waste collections and our recycling system. Of course, our recycling system now expanding all the time, including film and plastic waste, which hasn't been before, which shows that we are ahead of the game in many respects when it comes to collecting recycling. And also protecting those services such as street cleaning, hygiene inspections, and also our wonderful J2 Borough Museum, and also all the other facilities that this council provides to the population, as well as our parks and green spaces, of course. And then keeping the element of the council tax increase for the borough's part of the council tax down to pennies a week. There's a focus, as there has been in the last couple of years or more, on growth and regeneration, and we're pressing ahead with over £100 million capital programme over the next 3 years, focused on that town centre regeneration on the Rycroft, on Midway, and of course York Place, now to be called Ashley Place, which will be the first of the projects, which will be completed towards the end of this year. And of course, we've leveraged in funding to help us to do that from Home England. That's a vote of confidence in our regeneration plans, which has helped us to work with our capital and centric partners to deliver some really exciting proposals, such as the former car park conversion, which will be the first time in Europe that that has happened. And of course, it's well funded through not only the money we put aside through our capital programmes, but also through that extra funding coming outside. And as you'll see in the budget reports, there's a prudent Treasury framework around it for security and affordability as we go forward as well, to ensure that we keep on track with that regeneration in the years to come. And of course, we're also helping residents and high street businesses as well, as we've announced that we're freezing the car park charges on the surface level car parks. And also, of course, that is complemented by the £1 after one, which has stayed the same since it was brought in 8 to 9 years ago now. And the parking offer really is improving as well with the introduction of those free nipper parking places at the South High Street. And that will hopefully help, support footfall and local traders at a difficult time and allow people to come into the town centre and do their shopping. Also, we're freezing the sports fees for outside sports for tennis, bowls, footballs and rugby for the year ahead. And hopefully that will get support across this chamber, as I know it's an issue which others have raised. And of course, we're using the Borough Civic Growth Fund for those investments in our town's future. And of course, we've also been funding some environmental improvements such as tree planting and also supporting the transformation through digital of the council as well. And we'll also this year be adding support for our bid to become a town of culture from the Civic Growth Fund as well. And the Growth Fund is now in its 6th year, and you'll see in the report the amount of money that's been invested in our town, whether that be the town centre, whether that be environmental improvements, so that will be the transformation of the council so we can provide services at a lower cost, meaning we can keep council tax down. This council remains financially resilient despite the government cuts, and our 151 officer is recommending a minimum allocation of 2.25 million reserves for next year, but with all the other pots of reserves, such as keeping the Wallis Quarry reserve in place for unforeseen circumstances, and unfortunately having to bring in a local government reorganisation reserve, which could see £800,000 spent on merging councils away with no benefit for our residents, but totalling that reserves of £5.9 million. Of course, protecting services and supporting our residents and businesses and keeping council tax down is a key. But the once-in-a-lifetime regeneration of our borough has been really important. So I'm really pleased that really is taking hold now in the borough, and people can see the changes if they walk around our town centre. And let's not forget Kids Grove as well, because through the town deal there has been investment in the past and ongoing investment in the train station and also in the area around the train station and the town centre area. And of course, we do this by keeping the budget balanced, and since 2018 we've saved over £10 million in savings because of the cuts from government funding from both parties that have run the government over the last few years. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm really happy to move the recommendations and report, and I commend this budget to the council and ask for members' support on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to second the motion?
I would love to, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. If I may be so bold as to say a few words. Some of these, unfortunately, might be repeated, but I'll try to cut out the bits that have already been done. This meeting is a culmination of the budget setting process, which started before the 25-26 budget was set. The budget has been scrutinised at the Finance, Asset and Performance Scrutiny Committee in both December and January, and I must thank our excellent finance team for the work they have put into it. The council has made good progress against the council plan objectives, with high levels of service delivery being achieved overall. Due to robust budget monitoring, it is forecast the council will achieve a balanced outturn for 25-26. The council has seen a £1.1 million cut in grants via the local government finance settlement for the coming 3 years, coupled with an extra £233,000 of national insurance to be found in 26-27 as a result of the government's failure to honour their commitment to reimburse councils for their increases to employers' national insurance rates. Despite these cuts, the 26-27 budget gap of £1.599 million has been filled via a vigorous efficiency board process, including challenge sessions for each of the portfolios. Managers have agreed these efficiencies and additional levels of income as being both feasible and sustainable. Again, it is incredibly pleasing that no redundancies are included within these efficiencies. A below inflation council tax rise of 1.99% per Band D property is once again proposed. This amounts to 10 pence per week or less for 95% of the households within the borough. The Civic Growth Fund provides £250,000 investment into our corporate priorities. £125,000 will be used within place development on initiatives and events for boosting footfall within the town centre and the promotion of outdoor physical activity and teamwork. This includes the freezing of town centre parking fees and fees relating to outdoor sports. £75,000 will boost environmental sustainability in the borough, and £50,000 will continue to be allocated to the digital programme, which will improve public access to council services and drive efficiency savings. The public consultation identified that regeneration of the town, street cleaning, refuse collection and parks and open spaces are the services that residents value the most. All of these services have been protected or invested into via this budget. Our regeneration projects that are included as part of the £110 million capital programme continue to gather real pace across both Newcastle and Kidsgrove town centres. Residents will be able to see the work being undertaken on the former Midway car park, Astley Place and the Rycroft sites. This budget helps to make our area a better place for our residents, which is why we all came into local politics. I believe this is a robust, affordable and balanced budget for 26-27, and I'm happy and indeed honoured to support it. If I go back to what the leader said about this £600,000, the government is getting rid of the pooling element of our settlement grant, and the figure they sent us on in December was £600,000 more than it should have been. So we based all our assumptions on this £600,000. Then on Monday, remember it's Wednesday today, on Monday, they decided that somebody somewhere in government had made a mistake, and this £600,000 should never have been put in. So we'd have had 2 or 3 months to work through it and sort it out. We had 3 days, and obviously you can't do that in 3 days. So the government now is spending £130 million to give all the councils that it affects the money back for this. There's £130 million of expensive mistake, but they've admitted it, and it's done. The district council's network now, their number one priority for the next few months is to try to get this money phased in to a certain extent. I doubt it will all come back to us, but I imagine they'll probably come a halfway house or something. But that's what they're doing at the moment. But I'm moving this budget. I'm proud of this budget. I think it's an excellent budget, and I'm happy to second it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Members, we now move to the debate on this item. Could I ask you to indicate by raising a hand if you wish to speak? Can you keep your hands up for the moment, because we just take a note and work out the order. Did you get down to my game? He was probably not. Okay, thank you. Councillor Holland just put his hand up.
I think I've got everyone.
Yeah, we think we've got everyone, but of course, if we miss anyone out, A, apologies, and B, just raise your hand at the end. Can I start with Councillor Jones, please?
Didn't raise my hand, Mr. Mayor.
Don't blame the Mayor, because I'll blame the Chief Executive.
Councillor Stubbs.
Yeah, Councillor Stubbs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the proposed revenue and capital strategies for 26-27 and to reflect on both the strengths and several areas of concern within the substantial document. First, it's important to acknowledge the work that has gone into preparing these strategies. The Council faces an extremely challenging financial climate with an MTFS that identifies a 1.6 million, I think people forgive me, the 0.001, and a further structural deficits projected through the 5-year period. The administration rightly highlights the need for a balanced budget, and some of the savings identified, particularly around pension contributions, contract reviews and digital efficiencies, are prudent and are essential. However, having studied the papers carefully and having reviewed the discussions of the Finance, Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee, I must draw attention to several serious concerns. So first, let me mention a lack of responsiveness to scrutiny. At the heart of every democratic process is scrutiny. It is therefore extremely disappointing that despite around 30 questions, observations and suggestions from the Finance Scrutiny Committee, no meaningful changes were made to this document that was presented today. Scrutiny is not a procedural inconvenience, it is a safeguard. If this council asks members to dedicate their time, expertise and energy to reviewing draft strategies, then those efforts must be respected through visible amendments, clarifications and at the very least written explanations why proposals have not been adopted. None of that has been provided. Secondly, we have a continued reliance on optimistic assumptions. The MTFS is balanced only because of a number of high-risk assumptions, including 781,000 of staffing-related efficiencies, heavily dependent on vacancy management and pension assumptions, 665,000 of alternative sources of finance, including increased tax-based projections and extended producer responsibility income, both of which remain subject to external volatility, and a further 87,000 of new income streams, some of which, such as pet cremations, I can't even say it. No, cremations and digital screen advertising are completely uncertain. If any of these are not delivered in full, we risk falling behind in the position, and we face, as previous years, an emergency in-year correction. Next, Mr. Mayor, our growing exposure to borrowing and capital programme risk. The capital programme totals 110 million, with major regeneration schemes such as York Place, Midway and the Rycroft, requiring very large outlays and upfront and capital receipts years into the future. The council is planning to undertake significant short-term borrowing with interest costs capitalised. The capital finance requirement rises to 31.28 million in the year 28-29. The business rates collection fund is actually in a near 3 million deficit, of which 1.12 million falls on this council, and already successful appeals have already demonstrated the volatility of these income streams. Yet this document contains no sensitivity analysis, no worst case scenarios, and no explanation of how risks escalate if receipts are delayed or reduced. The Civic Growth Fund, it's good intentions but limited scrutiny. The Civic Growth Fund supports worthy objectives such as environment sustainability, place development and digital transformation. However, there is no clear evidence that earlier growth fund investments have delivered for ongoing savings as originally promised. £250,000 is again allocated this year without a direct link to measurable financial returns. Funding for fee freezes and car parking incentives are being drawn from the place development pot, but are these not blurring the lines between investment and subsidies? Moving on to the consultation, Mr. Mayor. The public consultation attracted 25 responses, down from 82 last year. While the findings may be indicative, they should not be treated as reliable. Significant weighting has been placed on the results that represent a fraction of the borough's households. Members should be cautious when drawing strategic conclusions from such a limited data set. So I go back to my original question. Why were none of the roughly 30 scrutiny questions and suggestions reflected in the revised document? Certain members opposite decry the lack of scrutiny in the past, which I agree with, especially with regard to the annual budget process. But what do they do? What do they say now after councillors on both sides of the aisle engage 100% in this year's process? In conclusion, Mr. Mayor, this is one of the most financially significant decisions we will take in any given year. Yes, we must adopt a budget. Yes, we must meet our statutory duties, but we should not do that while ignoring scrutiny, relying on untested assumptions, and exposing the council to escalating capital risk. Mr. Mayor, I'll be voting against this budget for those reasons tonight.
Could we keep order, please? Thank you, Councillor Stubbs. Councillor Wheeldon, please. Yeah, absolutely.
As always, I'm impressed with you, Mr. Mayor. Could I just say, when I first became a councillor, it was, I won't say indoctrinated, but made very clear to me that one of the things that we have a complete duty to do is to realise that when we're making decisions financially, we're dealing with other people's money. It's the money of the residents of this borough. And so that has always been paramount in my mind. If I look at what we're doing, this borough should be held up as a template for all other regions in the country to follow. We have managed to stay within the restrictive confines forced upon us by this out of control Labour government. I think we'll have no muttering, please.
Yeah, could we, could we keep order, please? Councillor Wheeldon, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as a template, we've managed, despite difficult situations, to keep the town council tax below the 2% that we promised. This must be one of the small zones in the entire country, and that includes Westminster, where what was promised has been carried out. We've kept below the inflation increase for the 5th consecutive year. Show me another region, show me another area, geographical or otherwise, that's done that. If we look at keeping within the restrictions financially that we have, what we've managed to do with the service area within these strict confines of reduced monies, we prioritised and protected street cleaning, parks, open spaces, and all the things that our local residents require. The massive regeneration that has started and is progressing and will be finished in the town at Rycroft, Midway and York Place. It's a 3-year expansion. How many, this was promised way before these restrictive government things, financial restrictions were forced upon us. And we've managed to stick with it. I am at a loss why anyone could not vote for this budget. We have shown complete transparency compared with the current government hiding, fudging, manipulating of figures that constantly goes on. It's important that this is noted. Very few people actually realise just what this Conservative-led council have done in the face of adversity and restrictions. I would like it noted exactly how much success we have had as a Conservative-led council. I've finished.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon, for your words. Councillor Lewis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the budget assumes 364,000 additional income from fee and charge increases. I was just wondering what modelling has been carried out to test whether higher charges may reduce usage and therefore income, and how will this be tracked during the next year? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis, for your question. Councillor Paul Waring, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the officers for their diligent work in preparing this budget. It was subject to a high level of scrutiny, and in my view, sensible suggestions were taken into consideration during the process. Yeah. Once again, the increase has been kept to a minimum and is far lower than many authorities, and I will be supporting it. I'm also pleased to say that Kidsgrove Town Council has approved a 0% increase. And when you take into account these things, together with the millions of pounds of inward investment that this administration has secured, I think that it's fair to say that the next administration, whoever it may be, will find it very difficult to achieve anything like this level of success. And I'm proud to have been part of this administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waring. Councillor Rees, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Major projects such as York Place, Midway Car Park and the Rycroft redevelopment depend on future capital receipts. What assurances can you provide regarding deliverability and timeline certainty for these schemes? And what are the financial implications if capital receipts are lower or later than projected? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rees. Councillor Fear, please.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Like a colleague to my right, not usually that right, it should be the other way around really, but Councillor Sweeney, I am very proud and happy to endorse this budget. And like Councillor Waring, I'd like to extend my thanks to the financial team who've put this together. Given what we've learned this evening from Councillor Sweeney, isn't it nice that at least locally we have financial competence? We have people who know about money, know how to use it, rather than the buffoon of a chancellor who conjures up an image of a woman swimming over Challoner's depth. So much is she out of her depth in this way. Now, if we look at this business, there are a variety of things I think we can say. First of all, we are an administration who keep our promises. We said that we would keep the council tax rise here under inflation. We have done that for 5 years in a row. It's interesting as well, isn't it, when we look at what's being proposed here, if we cast an eye towards Stafford, where we have an increase twice what's proposed here, despite promises, of course, that there was going to be no increase. We could look across the road to the city, where there's an increase of more than twice. And again, in this borough, perhaps we should remember that that is the place where the Labour Party wants to force our borough, destroy our history and gerrymander local government. And there's a price tag attached. And we need to remember that. And people in this borough need to think hard about what is being done to them in that regard. Beyond that, what have we heard this evening about this? Again, we have had to waste £800,000 on this gerrymandering scheme, money that could have gone to the well-being of our residents and actually is going to the putative well-being of the Labour Party. An absolute disgrace. Outside of that, we can see that we, unlike the Labour Party, care about our people. There have been, as Councillor Sweeney said, no reductions, no people have lost their jobs as a result of due economy in this regard. This is a careful council. It is a council that keeps its promises. Beyond that as well, let's have a think about what we've heard from the other side. We are presiding over a once-in-a-generation regeneration of our town centre. If we do not go forward, we will go backwards. I'm reminded by the moans I've heard from the Labour Party tonight about the parable of the man who was given a coin and hid it in the ground in a pot because he thought that that was the best thing to do. Of course, what we are told in the good book is that investing, taking those risks for the good of everyone is the right thing to do. These are carefully thought out risks. We've seen them debated in this chamber. We've seen that these things will work out for us. What is the Labour Party's proposal? It's to say any risk, let's go and hide in a corner. Let's just see this borough sink into decrepitude. Well, on this side of the chamber, we are not prepared to have that happen. Therefore, we should all vote for this budget. I haven't heard an alternative budget. I've heard a few moans, but I haven't heard any positive vision at all from this borough, from the Labour Party this evening. Here we have a positive vision. We have an administration that's kept its promises. We've had an administration that's aware, as Councillor Wheeldon said, that this isn't our money, this is somebody else's money, and we are dealing with it very carefully indeed. This is a budget for the future. Let's hope the Labour Party fail and this borough does have a future, and I commend it to absolutely everyone in this chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Brown, please.
Mr Mayor, just on a point of order. It relates to the speech from the councillor just now. I just wonder if the councillor could clarify. During the speech, you made reference to due economy. Is that correct? Could you just clarify that it was due economy?
I'm not quite sure.
Sorry, could you just a moment, please, Councillor Fear. Thank you. I'm advised it's a point of personal explanation. So, Councillor Fear, please.
Yes, well, I thought semantics might come into this, Mr. Bear. I'm sure some sneaky little thing is out there. Due economy to me means responsible behaviour when managing money, and I believe that due economy has been exercised by this council.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Brown now, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This may be the last time I speak at full council, and I'd like to let us remember what the chaplain said about working in a spirit of mutual encouragement. I'd like to bring up the budget consultation report. It's already been alluded to by the leader in terms of setting priorities, but 25 responses is a significant fall from the 82 last year. And there was actually 0 in my ward that responded. So what assessment has been made of this consultation's representativeness? And what steps will you take to improve public engagement before taking decisions that affect all taxpayers?
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Hutchison, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. However many people responded, I'm really happy that this budget has been shaped by resident feedback prioritising service protection. The public consultation ran from the 25th of November 25 until the 1st of January 26, and the residents that did comment wanted to prioritise town centre regeneration, street cleaning, refuge collections and parks, playgrounds and open spaces. Now, regarding street cleaning, we have invested in new technologies. This has proved to be a positive because our street scene team was awarded the APSI Award for Best Performance in Street Scene, recognising its position as a top performing authority for cost effectiveness, service standards and environmental quality. This accolade follows rigorous external verification and reflects the ongoing improvements made across this service. Regarding recycling and residual waste collection, helped again by investments in new technology, in the first 9 months of this current financial year, the percentage of successful collections was 99.98%. So for every 10,000 collections, our recycling and waste team only missed 2. Thanks to funding from the external producer responsibility, our recycling and waste team are having a restructure. We are bringing in 4 supervisor positions. This will give the workforce clear career progression options. And finally, a quick look at parks, playgrounds and open spaces. Since the investment of the Civic Growth Fund, investments have been made and committed to areas such as 183,000 to environmental sustainability, which provides funding for the tree planting programme, grassland management strategy and the wildflower meadow throughout the borough. And in 26 to 27, a further 75,000 is being allocated to environmental sustainability, which will ensure our residents have a cleaner, greener borough. This is an excellent budget, Mr. Mayor. It prioritises services, no cutbacks, it's very efficient, and I will be voting for it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. Councillor Richards, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask about section 2.10, which is about temporary accommodation. In the report, it says that there is an additional 149,000 for temporary accommodation pressures in the budget. What steps will the council take to reduce reliance on temporary accommodation? And what evidence do you have that your proposed steps will be successful as well as reduce future financial pressures? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councillor Richards. Councillor Adcock, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's really good to see that for the last 5 years, the council tax rise has been held below 2% as it's been pledged, because for many of our residents out there, they are struggling financially. They're living through a time where taxes are increasing, costs are increasing, mortgages, insurance, you name it, it's increasing, and every pound to them matters. And it's really encouraging to see how we as a council have the same approach, that every pound we spend, which is not our money, really does matter. And whilst we keep this council tax below inflation and as low as we can, we're also protecting those priority services which are visible. For a lot of residents, they want to see their visible services protected: the street cleaning, the parks, the open spaces. And I'm particularly encouraged to see about the £1 parking scheme being extended with the free nipper parking as well, because for our residents, that tends to be one of the big issues they mention when they come to the town centre, is about having affordable and available parking. I'm glad the council isn't going down the route of increasing that to generate more revenue. I think it's really important to keep that, and considering supporting our high street, but also people's cost of living right now. So I particularly welcome those points about, we've promised to keep council tax below 2%, and we have done so despite the many challenges, despite support being cut from the central government, despite the inflation spikes we've had, despite local government reorganisation, despite so many surprises and challenges over the last few years. We've kept it. I believe this council can be proud of the way we spend our ratepayers' money effectively. And I'm really pleased to see at the smaller scale as well, about things like parking, things like the sports fees being frozen, that we are keeping those visible frontline services at a very affordable rate for our residents. So I very much welcome this budget, and I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor Grocott, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, just going back to obviously being on finance, one of the main things that was brought up to myself after the last finance meeting was on my council surgery, and it's actually about J2. I had a gentleman come in and saying that he believed that the actual refit and all that was going to go on a bit longer than it was actually promised originally. Just wondering, not just on J2, but if other things like Kidsgrove and other places like community centres do require extra investment, where we'd be looking to do that. I suppose especially Kidsgrove and J2 are money makers, where community centres are the basically the places where we keep our people together. Communities are, that's what we need. So when a resident comes to me and says he's not happy, and he says, surely you can't vote for it, where would I go with that? Because if I don't trust my residents, they're the people who vote for me. So that's today how we voted against, unfortunately. This is no disrespect to Craig and obviously Sarah before them, who have done a lot of work, but we are here to represent our residents, not just ourselves. So it may upset people, but I have to go with what the residents say to me. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Grocott. Councillor Holland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the Labour Party have indicated tonight they're going to vote against the budget, but they have not come with an alternative. And that, to me, is a disgrace. It is not a tenable position. It's an election year. People deserve to know when they're voting what the alternative there might be put forward. Can I thank the administration for finding money in the Civic Growth Fund to extend concessions on parking tariffs and the freeze on sports fees? It seems to me that that is precisely the issue that was being argued by members of the Labour group in the scrutiny process and at Cabinet in the run-up to this budget. So it's a surprise to me that they're very unhappy with it. Mr. Mayor, there is a credibility deficit in politics. Politicians ought to do what they say they will do, and it is helpful if they possess the qualities that they claim to possess. I am reminded of Theresa May, who made strength and stability her election motto. But far worse, of course, is the current government, whose manifesto was a work of complete fiction, and which, setting aside its other repellent qualities, has set aside burning through political capital by pursuing damaging, expensive follies that were nowhere to be seen prior to the 2024 election. Digital ID, the Chagos betrayal, forced local government reorganisation. And the worst of it is the nauseating piety with which the Prime Minister affected prior to first taking office, the puritanical lectures we remember about moral standards in government, they would say, the Labour Party would say, anything to get into power. A prime minister who came into office trousering freebies from a wealthy donor in exchange for access to Downing Street. The chancellor who padded her CV. The transport secretary who lied about her criminal record. The deputy prime minister who did not pay her taxes. And most seriously, the appointment to this country's most prestigious diplomatic role of an already twice disgraced friend of the world's most famous paedophile. Patronage and prestige for Peter Mandelson, an intimate of a notorious child sex trafficker who leaked state secrets from the heart of the last Labour government, enabling insider trading against the interests of our nation. We deserve, they don't like to hear it, Mr. Mayor, but they're going to. We deserve politicians who will do what they say they will do. They should be delighted that I'm not focusing my remarks on them.
Just a moment, Councillor Holland, please. Could we have order? That was getting too much out of order. So if we could have order, please. Continue, Councillor Holland. Thank you.
Politicians should do what they say they will do. They should be the people they claim to be. There is a lesson in all of this here for the Reform Party, which is that if you come to power by saying anything at all to get elected, you will come unstuck, just like Keir Starmer. Reform promised us that they would cut council tax at the last 2025 local elections. They have in fact raised taxes in authorities that they run. To paraphrase Batman, you either lose as an insurgent or you live long enough to see yourself become the uniparty. You've got to start valuing honesty, like Reform's former finance lead at its flagship council in Kent, who told the Financial Times, we made some assumptions that we would come in here and find some of the craziness found in America. That was wrong. We didn't find any of that. Fortunately, Mr. Mayor, there is a political group that makes its promises and keeps its promises, as Councillor Fear said earlier. It is this administration. We promised to keep council tax rises below 2%, and we have kept that promise every year. With inflation outstripping these lowest possible rises, council services are now better value for money than when this Conservative administration took office. Labour says there is no shared prosperity anymore and that pride in place is for other people, not for our borough. We say it differently, and that is why the Civic Growth Fund will continue to invest in our communities, even as the national government is slashing funding for the people of our borough by more than £1 million, with further unfair cuts no doubt to come. The officers who deliver our brilliant public services all deserve our thanks, as do the officers involved in the budget setting process. The excellence of our public services and the sound finances of this authority are a testament to what can be achieved by talented, hard-working people under the leadership of an administration with integrity and a clear plan. People who have the values they claim to have and do what they say they will do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Holland. Inevitably, members on both sides are feeling that they need to show emotion, but could I ask you to please be restrained? And could I call on Councillor Fox-Hewitt, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of points, a couple of questions. Councillor Fear said in his contribution, or his rose-tinted trip down a memory lane of the administration, that the administration made no reductions in staffing or service delivery. I'll remind him that since they came to control the council, there has been an 18% reduction in headcount of the council workforce. Now, that is Conservative cuts, however you dress it up. So I'm not quite sure where that little nugget came from. Councillor Holland bemoans the fact that the Labour group have presented no alternative budget. Well, we've done that previously, haven't we? And it didn't result in a single fiscal change, despite it being heralded as an example of best practice by the LGA. So I don't really can see why you would want us to do that when you're not open-minded enough to work collaboratively with other parties for the benefit of the residents of this borough, Councillor Holland. In terms of questions, Mr. Mayor, two, if I may. On the Appendix 3 MTFS 5.11, Just with regards to the £781,000 of staffing-related savings that have been identified, can have some clarity on what those roles are and how those savings will be realised. And on the Civic Growth Fund allocation, that includes 125,000 for place development and 50,000 for digital delivery. Is someone able to provide some specific examples of the projects that will fund, how those outcomes will be monitored to ensure long-term savings or economic benefits? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Fox, for your questions. Councillor Sweeney, did you wish to say anything at this stage, please?
I think I've already spoken, Mr. Mayor. I don't think I'm allowed to.
Yes, I saw you seconded the motion, but it was just that you didn't reserve your right to speak. So I'll then move on to Councillor Tagg, if you wish to have a right to reply, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the debate. I think a very good debate. And I think a number of points I'd just like to raise. I think Councillor Sweeney Stephen mentioned right at the beginning, didn't he, the clarification over the pool for business rates and the reduction. He didn't mention that the County Council and the City Council are the beneficiaries of that. And I saw one of the MPs that represents our area, I think it was David Williams, claiming investment in our council. That's at the detriment of the districts in the county, and the same's happened across the country. And it could have been a lot worse, but the government did think again, I think under the pressure of district councils through the district council network, as Steve mentioned, made representations at the 11th hour to stop what would have been wrecking district budgets. It had a worse effect on other areas than it would have had here. But I just think sometimes that the government want to completely destroy districts so that we are begging to be merged into another council. Well, that's not going to happen in this council, and I can assure you it won't happen in other councils. I think the scrutiny issue, I think, has already been covered by Councillor Waring from Councillor Stubbs' original comments. I think we have a record of delivery over 8 years. £10 million savings have been realised and delivered. Underspends, again, looking to have an underspend this year on the budget as we complete it towards the end of April. So we've got a record of delivering so that when we look at this budget, we can say we've got a really good chance of delivering it if we stick to the plan. So that's what we intend to do. There's always a risk with everything. We wouldn't do anything if there wasn't a risk, but we've got specialist advisors on the Treasury side. We've also got working closely with Capital and Centric on the regeneration side. And don't forget, when we all agreed, I think it was almost unanimous, the agreement for the regeneration projects when it came to this council early in the year, is that Capital and Centric are the ones that will be buying those assets off us and giving us the capital receipts. And that's through the deal and arrangement which we've made, as well as bringing in that external funding as well. So let's not forget that. The consultation issue came up a few times. I can remember when the Labour Party introduced the budget as council, when they'd had seven, and they actually advertised it in the Free Council newspaper and still only got 7 responses. I think that year the leader of the council, Gareth Snell, was having a scrutiny budget settee in the town centre underneath the Guildhall Towers, so he mustn't have got many people come and sat and had a coffee with him. But if you look at the consultation year after year, we've been doing this online consultation, and this administration has been overseeing that since 2018. You add all of those up over the years, and that's a significant amount of people that would have been consulted on our budget, and continually they've come forward with the things that if you go out and talk to people on the streets, and I think Radio Stoke were out on Friday doing some talking about LGR, doing some interviews with people, and they talked about good recycling. What's good about this council? Good recycling. What's good about this council? Seeing the regeneration coming forward. So these are things what people, when you knock on the doors in elections, they come forward with. They'd like to see the town centre more vibrant. And by bringing people living and working in the town, which is part of our regeneration proposals, that's how you get to that, isn't it? So I think it's there's a lot of other comments I'll just cover quickly. I think relating to the costs of maintenance, which was raised by Councillor Grocott. I think as we've seen with Kidsgrove Sports Centre, we brought in funding from outside. They came forward for funding through the environmental scheme, which is for solar panels. We've had J2 bringing in £2.5 million, which will be energy efficiency measures in there, as well as helping towards some of this work that's going on there at the moment as well. So I think that's key, that we bring money in from outside. We've got a brilliant record of doing that. Don't forget, we used town deal money to bring Kidsgrove Sports Centre back into use. And that was quite hilarious to read the comments of the Stoke North MP, Stoke North and Kidsgrove MP, his comments on relating to a playground. And it took 8 months to bring it back into use. I don't know the full details of that. I'm sure local members know more. But he was saying that we're not investing, looking after sports facilities and action and play for children. Well, over the last few years, we brought Kidsgrove Sports Centre back into use when it was closed by the previous Labour administration. We've brought the pump track into existence at Newchapel, which again is used brilliantly by the people of the young people in Kidsgrove and beyond. So you can see what investment can bring into this. And I think it's really, really key that we continue to try and do that. I'd just like to raise the issue to do with what Councillor Jones raised as a point of order, which I see as almost a smear there on Councillor Fear. He did not mean what has been said. And if you do a quick search for what due economy means, it's proper, careful and appropriate management of resources, ensuring expenditure are necessary, reasonable and not wasteful. And I think you've just got to be aware of the mics in this place, obviously have a rattle on them. But Councillor Fear clearly, from what I hear, said that. And I think it's quite disgraceful to try and smear, as was quite evident from what Councillor Jones was saying there. And of course, Councillor Jones... Yes. Oh, come on. Economy.
Councillor Tagg, there was a point of order raised, which
I'm addressing, Councillor.
Has been answered. And could I ask members to be more orderly, please? Councillor Tagg, would you continue now, please?
So, moving on from that, I think other issues that were raised, I think, are covered in the reports. And I think what we're seeing here is a budget that's balanced. A budget that keeps council tax down, as we said, to 1.99%, 10 pence a week, obviously for over 95% of households, which is the key message coming out of that, as well as protecting those frontline services. And just to correct Councillor Fox-Hewitt, of course, what we said was no redundancies, and there's been no redundancies as a part of these savings. There's been efficiencies and changes of way of working, which have led to a reduction in the headcount, which is part of good governance and part of sensible governance of this council. So I think what we have tonight, Mr. Mayor, is a budget that's prudent, fair and forward-looking, and it reflects that our residents have told us over a number of years, and still tell us to this day in the town on Friday when people were interviewed. And I therefore commend this budget to the council and ask for members to support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, that concludes the debate on the proposal. And I'll now put the matter to the vote, which must be a named vote. And the Chief Executive will now take and record the vote.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I know that emotions were running high a moment ago, but a member has left the chamber, and I think it would be a shame if that member were not given the opportunity to participate in this vote, however heated that previous exchange might have been. I wonder if you can advise.
I'll just take advice from the monitoring officer. Sorry, Councillor Fox-Hewitt, do we know, has Councillor Jones left the, he's left the meeting obviously, but has he left the building? Could you clarify, please?
I assume it's because he feels as a man of duty heritage he's been smeared on his race there, so I'll have to go and check, please, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, could we, I'll just suspend the meeting for a moment whilst there's just this clarification, and then we will move to the vote as soon as possible. So I just ask that members bear with us at this point, because there was a point of order raised and we're now dealing with it.
Like is it fine about me doing a call and early well filter food and you say why the council called it then how are people quick to defend themselves when you don't see things got their back home
All right, can we, we'll resume the meeting now. Can members please resume their seats? We are now about to take the vote, which I said is a named vote, and the Chief Executive will take and record the vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As this is a named vote, I will call each member in turn and please indicate whether you are for or against the motion or abstain. Councillor Adcock. For. Councillor Beeston.
For.
Councillor Beresford.
For.
Mr. Mayor. There you go.
For.
Thank you. We'll swap in a moment. Councillor Brown.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Bryan. Councillor Burnett Faulkner.
For.
Councillor Casey Hume. Councillor Crisp. For. Councillor Dean.
For.
Councillor Diamond.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Edgington Plunkett.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Fear.
For.
Councillor Fox Hewitt. Apologies. Councillor Gorton.
Against.
Councillor Grocott.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Heeson. Councillor Holland.
For.
Councillor Hutchison.
For.
Councillor Johnson.
For.
Councillor Lewis.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Northcott.
For.
Councillor Parker.
For.
Councillor Rees.
Against.
Councillor Richards. Councillor Stubbs.
Against.
Councillor Sweeney.
For.
Councillor John Tagg.
For.
Councillor Simon Tagg. Councillor Turnock.
For.
Councillor Jill Waring.
For.
Councillor Paul Waring.
For.
Councillor Weldon.
For.
Councillor Whitmore.
For.
And Councillor Wilkes.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
Against.
Thank you. Three. 13. I'm not giving that. 12. Yeah. I'm not sure I was up to date on the absences. That's what I did.
Thank you, members. The motion is carried with 24 votes in favour and 12 votes against, and there were no abstentions. Thank you. Members, we now turn to the next substantive item of business on this evening's agenda, which is the pay policy statement. And a copy of the report and associated papers can be found on pages 125 to 134 of your agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, report comes to us every year since obviously the Local Government Act of 2011 was passed for transparency. Obviously contained in the appendix is a list of the grades, so and also information within the report about obviously the pay levels of key officers. So if anybody wants to find out more about that, they can see in the report. But we're asked to approve the contents of the pay policy statement as set out and be published on the council's website by the 31st of March 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to second the motion, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very, very pleased to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Members, we now move to the debate on this item. Can I ask you to indicate by raising a hand if you wish to speak? No members wish to speak. So we move to the vote. All those in favour? Fine. That is unanimous. So thank you for that. One member I thought was going to abstain or whatever, but decided to come in with everybody else. So thank you very much for that. Members, the next item on the agenda is members' questions. I've received 2 questions for the leader and cabinet members, and these can be found on page 135 of your agenda pack and will also be shown on the screens. I will ask the leader or the relevant cabinet member to respond to the question as shown, after which I will ask the member who submitted the question if they have a supplementary question. Could I remind members that if they have a supplementary question, it must be a question and not a statement, and it must be concise, focused, and relate to the subject matter of the initial question and answer. The first question is from Councillor Joan Wheeldon regarding local government reorganisation, and is currently showing on the screen. Councillor Simon Tagg, your response, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Wheeldon, relating to the Cabinet Inquiry Panel. Pleased that Cabinet agreed to set that up in its last meeting, and I think it's really important that we can be able to scrutinise, what the government are up to on this. I think so we can have that full transparency, as you say, in public debate. The question goes on to say if we were going to be inviting our local MPs, let's not just pick on one of them, but our local MPs, and the intention is to do that, and hopefully we can set a date when they can come at the first meeting and answer some questions, because we don't really know. I'm still wondering, what the view is of our local MPs significantly on this. I noticed the MP for Newcastle-under-Lyme suddenly set up a consultation a year after people have been asking him what his view is, and I know at least a number of people that wrote to our MP for Newcastle, Adam Jogi, haven't had a response over his view on local government reorganisation. So it'd be interesting to ask for him to come in and scrutinise. But I would say that we don't get significant replies from our MP on a number of issues we raise. So I do hope I get a response to an invite if I was to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Wheeldon, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes.
Fine. Please, your supplementary.
as a precursor to the question, could I say that I think it behoves anyone who is in elected office to get the residents on board by communicating properly. So if Councillor Tagg is having trouble getting a response from our MP as to what his situation and stance is, it might be useful that if he could get a secondary communication through what I understand is the MP's secretary, who is known as such, as noted in his visit to the Coppice Academy, which is published on social media, a point which many residents of the borough have noted. And Councillor Fox-Hewitt may be able to respond on behalf of Adam Joji, since he's described as the MP's secretary on a number of occasions.
Councillor Tagg, please. Do you have a response to that supplementary?
Thank you. Thank you for the supplementary, Councillor Wheeldon. I'm sure we'll obviously open communications with the MP's office when a date is set, so we can get our local MP for Newcastle-under-Lyme plus the invitation to the other two MPs that represent our borough, so we can get that debate and hear more about what their views are. We know that our MPs have already voted for local government organisation, which of course is the process which we're being forced to go through, which could mean a merger of the borough out of existence. So I think we need to know more from them and what they're going to do over the next few months when votes come to Parliament to progress the bill even further. But thank you, Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The second and actually the final question is from Councillor Rees regarding the Friends of the Guildhall, and that is now showing on the screen. Councillor Tagg, your response, please.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Rees. I think probably not aware, but the Guildhall is run by the support staffs. They have run it since 2019 as a lease. The Friends of group grew organically, and we're obviously handling the front area and the reception, but an arrangement has been come between both parties in the Guildhall for the support staff to take over the front office, and some of the people that were manning the front office are going to become part of support staffs, I believe, and also that will be an expanded offer as well. And I think it's great to see the Guildhall in use, isn't it? And I think we want that to continue, and support staffs have been the perfect people to run that, and I've got a number of tenants in there, and also it's a bustling hub and will continue to be so. And I know that the team running it on behalf of support staffs have our confidence, and of course making that building in our centre of our town a active building for the community is always something we wanted, and we've delivered, because it's obviously got a history of being left to rot in some respects on a number of occasions. And I'm pleased that during my leadership in the two spells, I've managed to bring that building back into use. And since 2019, that has been, open as a facility for people to come in the daytime into the main reception, but also for people to rent the rooms in there. And also there are some tenants that are permanently in there as well. So I think long may that continue.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Rees, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, just a quick question, Mr. Mayor, please. Can we just clarify whether it's support Staffordshire, whether they'll continue to provide a public protection service supporting people with computer access for services such as bus passes, blue badges, Age UK, etc.?
Thank you. Councillor Tagg, your reply, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is my understanding, that they will continue to provide, and they actually enhance the services as well that they can provide out of the Guildhall. They've made some changes to the reception as well, so it can be used as a hired meeting area in the evenings, which I think is really good. So I think the future of the Guildhall is bright. I think it's seen as a community hub, and long may it continue to be that. And of course, I have regular meetings with the team that support staffs, which many will know, Jamie Wells and others. So I will certainly be raising that question to ensure that happens as well. And I know there's member support. I know the support staffs have seen your question, Councillor Rees, so they are aware. And I think you're quite right to say there should still be that sort of council service one-stop shop delivery there, which will make sure happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg, for that reassurance. Moving us on to agenda item 8, which is to receive petitions from members. I've not been made aware of any to be handed in this evening. So that takes me to agenda item 9, and this relates to urgent business. And I do this evening have an item of urgent business, which is the elections scale of fees and charges. This item is considered urgent in order to confirm the position with council ahead of the May elections. A copy of the report and associated papers can be found on pages 137 to 141 of your agenda, and a copy has also been formally tabled this evening. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce this report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the urgentness of this, of course, it was missed off the original agenda when it was published, so that's why it's a late item. But so apologies to members on that, and of course, the Chief Executive did write to group leaders to apologise for that. But it's a standard item we need, obviously, before we have our election. Of course, we know the news has been clarified. Now we will be having our elections here in Newcastle Borough on May the 7th. I think that's the right thing to do. And of course, it's disappointing that other areas in Staffordshire, Tamworth and Cannock, have decided not to have elections. I think it's disgraceful that council leaders can actually make a decision whether there are elections taking place in their area. I think there's something wrong directly with that, or ministers even. It should be out of their hands. But we can hold our elections and still administer the borough quite happily. Local government organisation is an issue going on in the background, but of course we won't know until the summer what the government wish to force upon us. And it's the same for Tamworth and it's the same for Cannock. They could happily have held their elections. I've been in public record. I think I've seen something in the media about condemning the move there to council elections, and I think we can go ahead with them. And of course, to do that, we need to put out our elections and fees and charges paper so that can be agreed, so that the staff that work for our elections, whether they're working hard, long hours on election day for the community to ensure everybody gets their vote in a timely and safe way, and then also the count that comes after, of course, are going to be a late night on the 7th stroke morning of the 8th of May when the election results come out. So I'd like to move the recommendations set out in the report and also in Appendix 1 of this report, which has got the scales of the fees and charges. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to second the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Members, we now move to the debate, and can I ask you to indicate by raising a hand if you wish to speak? Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to support the report, but I'd like to pay tribute to the elections team at this council, which since the incident in 2017 has grown into an extremely competent and fully staffed, I should say, department of the council. The work they do there is extremely important to our democracy, and I've been extremely impressed in the last 9 years at the work of that department. Certainly those staff who are permanent and also those who come in on election day and in advance of election day. They do get a round of applause once a year from some very tired campaigners, but I think it's worth us as councillors placing on record our thanks to the people who work in that team for the very difficult and specialised job that they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Councillor Tagg, would you like final right of reply, please?
Thank you. Yes, I'd support what Councillor Holland said there, and that's why we're confident we could come out very early and say we are going to hold our elections. And as Councillor Holland did point out, that hasn't always been the case in this council, 2017 and the elections disaster, but we won't go into that now because we've had all those years of by-elections and police and crime elections, general elections, where this council has conducted elections very well, and I think that will continue into the future as well. So happy to endorse what Councillor Holland said there. Thank you.
Yes, right. Thank you, Councillor Tagg. I'm now going to put this to the vote. All those in favour? Well, that's unanimous. So that motion is carried. And just for the record, could I say that I was consulted by the Chief Executive with regards to accepting this item as a proper urgent business matter. Thank you. That moves us on to agenda item 10, which I can say there's no confidential business that needs to be considered this evening. So therefore, that concludes the business for this meeting, and I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.